Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a brand new legal breaking reporting. This time, it's a rightful, legal, constitutional, and lawful loss for the Trump administration. This time, at the federal trade court level. This time, the federal trade court level, international court, if you will, ruled that his tariffs are effectively illegal and unconstitutional and strike them down. Let's get into it and take a look at this reporting by AOL. The article, ladies and gentlemen, is titled U.S. Trade Court, just blocked a wide swath of Trump's tariffs. Here are the duties that may be impacted. And ladies and gentlemen, the article reads, the Manhattan-based trade court ruled in an opinion issued by a three-judge panel that a key 1977 law called the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEEPA, does not give Trump, quote, unbounded, unquote, authority to issue the worldwide and retaliatory tariffs the president has imposed by executive order in recent months. Many of the president's actions, quote, exceed any authority granted to the president by IEEPA to regulate importation by means of tariffs, unquote. The decision read, which blocked imposition of some of Trump's tariffs and invalidated the president's orders. The ruling applies to a series of controversial actions that that Trump has taken to impose tariffs on entire nations since taking office. The ruling is not expected to impact other actions he has taken focused on specific goods from automobiles to steel, which rely on a different legal authority. The White House immediately reacted to the news with spokesperson Kush Desai, saying in a statement that it is not for unelected judges to decide how to properly address a national emergency, unquote. Later Wednesday, the administration filed a notice with the court stating that it planned to appeal the decision. this is effectively bullcrap, and yes, they do. Judges have the right to tell Trump if he is exceeding and abusing his power under the Constitution. That is where the judiciary and the federal judiciary, if that, come into play. Continuing with the article, ladies and gentlemen. Meanwhile, some of those who brought the cases celebrated. A law professor who helped bring the suit wrote a reaction online that suggested the legal wrangling will continue, but said, quote, the bottom line is a major victory in the legal battle against these harmful and illegal tariffs, unquote. Ladies and gentlemen, the reason why these tariffs are illegal is because, one, the president in the executive branch does not have the authority unilaterally to impose and enact tariffs, and only Congress has the authority and power of the purse to enact and impose tariffs. Donald Trump is not Congress. He needs to be locked up for this BS. Continuing with the article. The orders were challenged by a New York liquor importer and several other American small businesses, as well as 11 state attorneys general. With the Trump administration's plan to appeal, the matter will likely head to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit, which has jurisdiction over international trade law disputes. The case could eventually reach the Supreme Court. Ladies and gentlemen, which tariffs are at issue here? We are about to find that out. The decisions focus on IEEPA immediately throws into doubt some of the most far-reaching of Trump's tariff actions since taking office. Most notably, those include his, quote, Liberation Day, unquote, tariffs of 10% on nearly the entire world, as well as the current threat of higher tariffs on countries that fail to reach a deal during his 90-day pause. The president has also relied on IEEPA to impose duties on nations such as Mexico, Canada, and China, claiming that the nation's failure to curb the flow of illegal drugs and migration into the U.S. threatened U.S. national security. Ladies and gentlemen, U.S. effective trade rate exceeds on trade routes, truce with China. The law was also the authority Trump planned to use when threatening before deferring on possible tariffs on Colombia. The White House doubled down on its national security claim on Wednesday evening. Foreign countries' non-reciprocal treatment of the United States has fueled America's historic and persistent trade deficits, unquote. DESAI said, DESAI, that is, said, who's the White House spokesperson, adding, quote, these deficits have created a national emergency that has disseminated American communities, left our workers behind, and weakened our defense industrial base, facts that the court did not dispute, unquote. Duties based on other laws like those those Trump has imposed on certain aluminum and steel products are not included in the court's decision. Recent duties on automobiles imposed by the president use so-called Section 232 tariff authority derived from a separate law called the Trade Expansion Act of 1962. The tariffs on steel and aluminum also rely on Section 232. Other sector-specific tariffs from Trump's first term and from President Biden's time in office also often relied on another tariff authority derived from Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974. Ladies and gentlemen, a focus on a 1977 law. The ruling was immediately celebrated by some of Trump's critics in Washington. Senator Ron Wyden of Oregon said in a statement that he, quote, argued from the start that Donald Trump's claim that he could simply decree sky-high new taxes on imported goods depended on mangling the Constitution beyond recognition, unquote. Oregon was one of the states that brought suit against the Trump administration. Quote, I have no doubt the legal wrangling will continue, but I'm committed to retaking Congress's authority over trade for good and shutting down Trump's ability to unilaterally declare trade war with the world, unquote, Wyden said. The International Emergency Economic Powers Act of 1977, IEEPA, again, ladies and gentlemen, says that during a national emergency, the president, in order to respond to an unusual and extraordinary threat from abroad, can regulate economic transactions, including imports. However, ladies and gentlemen, keep in mind and note that we are not in a so-called national emergency, as Trump calls it. Continuing with the article, ladies and gentlemen. Congress passed the IEEPA to restrict presidents from overstepping a 1917 World War I era law known as the Trading with the Enemy Act, TWEA. The act, which regulates U.S. transactions with enemy powers, allowed the president to exercise broad economic powers during wartime, during national emergency. Hence, ladies and gentlemen, as far as it stands right now, thankfully, we are not in a war currently, and we are especially not in a national emergency like Donald Trump so proclaims. Continuing with the article. In this case, the trade court ruled that because the Constitution expressly allocates tariffs by power to Congress, tariff power to Congress, IEEPA does not delegate, quote, unbounded, unquote, tariffs, authority to the president. Instead, the IEEPA provisions impose, quote, meaningful limits, unquote, on the authority that IEEPA confers, the panel said. The court also said the president's tariffs fell short of meeting the IEEPA's requirements because the duties do not address an unusual and extraordinary threat to national security. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for today's, for this, reporting, ladies and gentlemen. If you did enjoy this reporting, please, like, comment, share, subscribe, and enjoy, firstly. Secondly, if you want to make sure that you're always up to date on all the things legal breaking reporting-wise on the side of politics, please follow me on my social medias. Secondly, ladies and gentlemen, that'll be linked down below in the video description. Excuse me. I'm on Instagram, Snapchat, Threads, as well as TikTok and Instagram. There you guys will be. There you guys will be updated instantly on when I upload brand new legal breaking reporting analysis videos to the channel. Thirdly, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys would also like to stay up to date on all the things legal breaking reporting wise on this side of politics, please hit the bell icon as well as the all notifications option. The bell icon is located directly beneath the screen here on the right hand side of the subscribe button. Fourthly, ladies and gentlemen, please help me reach and achieve the goal of 170 plus subscribers. The reason why I am saying 170 plus subscribers, ladies and gentlemen, is because right after we reach and achieve the goal of 170 subscribers, we have more subscribers to reach and achieve right after we reach and achieve the goal of 170 subscribers. Fifthly, and last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, please stay positive, even though I know, unfortunately, it is hard for a majority of you to stay positive. During these unfortunate, illegal, induced darkness times caused by the illegal, unconstitutional Trump administration, Trump regime. And please stay safe. And know that justice will prevail eventually correctly on the right side of the law, the correct side of the law, despite Donald Trump and his illegal, unconstitutional administration and regime's illegal executive orders, actions, and behaviors. Lastly, until my next legal breaking reporting, ladies and gentlemen, I will talk to you guys in the next reporting.